love Pikmin games simply because of the uniqueness of the creatures in the environment. You had these rich environments full of thriving life, and it was so cool to find new enemies and new baddies every time you entered a new area. It was so cool to see some that just minded their own business, but some that were very hostile and territorial. What's so cool about these enemies is that once you defeat these creatures, you actually get to view them in the Piklopedia, kind of like a weird foreign zoo where you get to see all the animals that you have defeated. There's big creatures, small creatures, and even like little cute creatures, but there are the handful of creatures that are just ugly to look at and just terrifying to the eyes. So I have decided to put together a top 10 most creepiest or scariest creatures in the Pikmin series. We will be going through each Pikmin game, Pikmins 1 through 3, and even Hey Pikmin on a 3DS to talk about what creatures gave us the uhs. Of course, like always, before we get started, if you guys are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, and if you enjoy this video today, leave a like. It helps the video to grow like always. But you guys know this by now. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get on to the list. Now, the game likes to suggest that the planet that Olimar likes to revisit is Earth, and that a lot of catastrophes happen and all of the environment got mixed up, and lots of these animals and creatures on this list are mixes between multiple animals. And of course, number 10, we're starting off with one of those mixes being the Burrowing Snagit. This creature is wild. It is a mixture of a snake and a bird head. According to the Piklopedia, there's a lot of them on the planet, and they pretty much take up a lot of space similar to the Bulborb. So these are not an indigenously rare creature, there's a lot of them out there. But pretty much how they work is they burrow underground, and whenever somebody walks across the top surface, they pop out and ready to attack. They normally feed on small insects or bugs, but including Pikmin in this list because that's why they're so scary. They feast on Pikmin. Super quick, they'll peck at your Pikmin and take out half the squad before you even know it. These things are creepy. But when it gets even creepier is the Pileated Snagit, which is a version that hops out of the ground and has a foot of a bird still, with the body of a snake and the head of the bird. It's just the creepiest thing of all time. I don't want to talk about it. Hey Pikmin may not have been the Pikmin game that many people wanted, but at the same time, it did have some pretty cool enemies and creatures, and including the Electric Cottonade. The Electric Cottonade is this floating ball of cotton with two bulging eyes and a long snout, and pretty much what it does is sucks up Pikmin through this snout, but it uses the help of his family, which is his kids, because according to the Pikmin notes, it says, a rare creature that attacks together with its family. The children build up electricity around the parent and use it to stun their prey. The parent then sucks up the stunned prey through its straw-like mouth. It's an amazing display of teamwork, which is just a family unit trying to find a meal, but it is creepy nevertheless. It has electric powers to be able to stun the Pikmin, but that's where yellow Pikmin come in, where they can be thrown super high to reach the creature and bring them down and start attacking its snout before they get sucked up. But nevertheless, it is a creepy creature. Mammutas are a peacefully calm and weird type of creature. These creatures are shaped kind of like stone hearts that just sit on the ground and they don't really move. They have two lopsided eyes and they appear mostly underground. But when they do get walked up and approached on, they don't really do much. They just simply walk around, they feed on seeds and fruit, and they're pretty much peaceful creatures. Well, that is until you attack. Once you attack, they go into an irate and start swinging his arm around to try to slap the Pikmin. What he'll do is he'll smack them into the ground, not killing them, but replanting them, making Olimar have to do the busy work by pulling them back up out of the soil, which could be kind of tasking when they're trying to attack Olimar as well. So these creatures really don't bother anybody, and it kind of makes me sad when you have to defeat them in order to get a ship part or something. It's really sad. There's also some type of theory that it might be some type of tribal enemy or a space-invaded alien creature because it has some weird tribal markings and stuff on his arms, but who knows? Now this is a rare case of evolution not necessarily working out for its host. Well, maybe it is for the host, but not for us, because with the Gatling Groink, he has turned part machine, part fish, part chicken legs, I don't know. It is a weird hybrid of animal and machine to create this weird creature that shoots fire-powered rounds at its enemies. Unlike the Mamuta, this guy is an extremely high-end predator that will hunt down anything that comes within its path. It doesn't actually shoot bullets, but high-powered seeds at its enemies that explode on contact, so yeah, it pretty much shoots bullets. But these guys will wreck you and your whole squad of Pikmin if you're not careful. It even has a windshield in the front, so you can't attack him there. You have to wrap around and attack his ammo container, which is also his back. This guy, it's safe to say, puts the fear in any creature in the forest. The segmented cropstar is another example of how harsh evolution can be to some of these creatures. This thing was absolutely a fearless little creature at first, but then went through some type of crazy state and it mutated into this creepy giant shellfish. And one of its legs actually mutated into a giant swinging arm that he uses to attack. He is extremely violent and hostile if anything comes near him, obviously after everything that he's been through. He'll also try to ram you by rolling up into a ball and slamming himself at anything that's nearby, giving the Pikmin time to attack its undercage. This thing is just creepy and ugly looking, but I feel bad for it after probably some tragic events that it partook in. The Quaggled Myreclops likes to use his environment to help him stay alive. He pretty much is the environment. This is how big this creature is. He hides in this giant swamp as this giant hill of grass with a giant crystal in the middle. There's a lot of giant stuff happening here, but he doesn't really attack until you start banging on the crystal, which is probably Olimar's fault, but he needs the ship piece, so why not? He'll bang on the crystal, waking the creature, and you'll have to get to the fruit on top of his head in order to take him down. You can take down his feet in order to drop him, but once he's dropped and you're attacking the fruit, you better pull your Pikmin away quick, or your giant tongue will come out and eat all the Pikmin right up. It is a creepy looking guy, but he also attacks by slamming his whole body down on the Pikmin, drowning them in swamp mud and water, which can be devastating. So there's a lot of things to look out for here, but this guy is a giant beast of a behemoth. I decided to put all the long legs into its own category because all these guys are creepy. They're giant creepy spiders that dwell within the forest, and I think it's safe to say that most of us, if not all of us, have a little fear of spiders. Beady Longlegs is one of the first one you come across, and what you have to pretty much do is take down his feet. Hold his feet down in order to climb up to his circular abdomen and start breaking it open and finding whatever's inside. Now, it's hard to say what's the head and the eyes with these things, but who knows? You just start beating on this giant ball in the middle. That sounded wrong. Shaggy Longlegs is pretty much the same thing, but with long shaggy hair that the Pikmin must climb up and pluck all off before it can eventually start doing damage. Man at Legs is another long leg that is actually controlled by machinery that has taken over its body. It's actually a relatively calm and nice creature, it states, but the machinery that it's attached to has a mind of its own and locks on to any target nearby, which causes massive havoc with its machine gun. Yes, machine gun. And then we have the final boss of Pikmin 2, the Titan Dweevil. Now, I know this isn't a part of the Arachnorb family, but it is a giant spider, and I included it, and this guy is crazy. He's a giant spider that likes to pick up shiny things, and he uses them as different weapons. He has a fire cannon, a shock therapist, a monster pump, and a comedy bomb, all with different effects. Water, fire, electricity, and even poison that you'll need to use different Pikmin in order to take down. This guy is using real-life equipment in order to kill his prey. That is crazy. Continuing on with big creatures, we have the Berserker Leech Hydro, which actually was a harmless plant in the beginning, but it all started thanks to the Leech Hydro. A Leech Hydro is like this little anemone that likes to suck off of the nutrients of plants, but normally it doesn't do much. The only thing that really triggered him to go crazy was the SS Dolphin's Sparklium Converter that fell on top of it while it was sleeping, causing the parasitic urges to go out of control, according to the Piclopedia. This then caused the plant to grow to massive proportions and mutate into this crazy gigantic creature with wings and giant legs, and of course multiple beaks. He has multiple different phases and many different attacks, from trying to bite the Pikmin, scoop them up, or fly and run into them, or even shoot them with poisonous gases and liquid lasers coming out of his mouth. This thing is ridiculous. And at the end, once you defeat him, the Leech Hydro will jump out and start running away, giving the Sparklium back to Captain Olimar and going on about his business. Hopefully he doesn't mess with anything else in the future. At the end of Pikmin 3 in the Forbidden Oak, you'll come across the mysterious life form of the Plasm Wraith. It is a giant glob of gold goo that picks up Olimar and carries him around the oak tree all the way towards the bottom. You'll have to hurry up, grab Olimar, and run out of the oak tree before it catches you, and then the battle initiates. He is almost humanoid as he walks around, and he can also split his body into multiple different forms, which you'll need to use every source of Pikmin for. He'll have fire cores, he'll have a giant cube that is made out of glass that only the rock Pikmin can break, and he'll also have a giant orb of water that only water Pikmin can swim inside and start attacking the core. But initially, the core is the weakness, but we still don't know really what the heck this thing is. Was it a lab experiment gone wrong? Is he a reason why the world's in chaos and just devastation now? We will never know. But before we get on to our last pick, here are some honorable mentions. Number 1. Water Wraith. Nothing is as terrifying as not knowing what the heck you're up against. When you first going through this dungeon and this thing drops down and starts chasing you through the mazes, in the dark, it is terrifying, especially considering the fact that you can't hurt this thing. It is the creepiest by far thing I've ever seen in pretty much any Nintendo game. The Water Wraith, similar to the Plasm Wraith, seems to be made up of some type of gel liquid, but this one is holding 2 pillars of rocks that is steamrolling over its enemies, but nobody knows what this thing is. And what's so creepy is that Olimar's own notes about this thing is so scary. Just listen to this. All that is known about this creature stems from a few sightings deep underground. All reported sightings feature the same core set of details, a giant vicious form with a clear hazy sheen not unlike hard candy. One theory holds that it may be the ectoplasm incarnation of a kind of psychic phenomenon, but as is usually the case with such theories, it is very difficult to prove. All witnesses report being suddenly overcome with fear upon sighting the creature, approaching a state of panic and nearly insanity. In fact, every report contains an inordinate amount of extremely vague details, which has led to the suspicion that exhaustion and fear have caused some simple natural phenomenon to be viewed as a living creature. So it's safe to say that not even Olimar can figure out what this thing is. It is just a weird phenomenon, and many people think it might be some type of extraterrestrial force or some type of interdimensional being that is trapped in between worlds, which it's just creepy. Come on. I also read some wacky theory out there that might be onto something, saying that the plasms are actually humans that have just been devolved into some mush and just the nothingness from some type of evil or crazy scientific experiment that may be the cause of the way the world is in ruin today. And that's what's just so crazy is, what if the Water Wraith is actually a human? All he is trying to do is run over enemies and just completely kill them, doesn't even feed on them. But once you figure out how to beat this guy, it's pretty easy. You need the purple Pikmin in order to contain his fluid into this purple hard shell, which you can then send an army of Pikmin on top of him and end up defeating him, breaking away his pillars and then officially breaking away him after he runs away in fear himself. This thing is just the embodiment of fear. I was terrified as a kid, and it still gives me the creeps now.